Have you ever noticed that there's a huge gap between the time we commit our goals to paper and the time we see them come to pass? I know I sure have. Seth Godin, one of the most popular bloggers on the planet and best-selling author, dedicated an entire book to this issue. Seth calls the gap between when we set out to do something and when we actually begin to see results the dip. This award-winning author states, in order to become the best, we must first go through the dip, which Seth describes in his book as a metaphorical valley followed by a steep, tall peak. Seth writes, "The peak is what we must climb if we're ever going to become world-class at our craft." And Seth argues, the greater the dip, the greater the potential reward, because the dip weeds out people who might be trying to take the same path as we are. The dip represents both the adversity we must face and the learning curves we must overcome in order to achieve the results we desire. Personally, I've seen an awful lot of people get lost in the dip. They fall off track someplace between committing their goals to paper and achieving them, because for many of us, getting started isn't necessarily the hardest part. Keeping going is. So today, I want to give you 10 tips to help you come to a flourishing finish when it comes to achieving your goals. Tip number 1, nurture your mind with positive thoughts. Train yourself to think positively and immediately stop any negative self-talk. Zig Ziglar said it best when he said, "Positive thinking won't let you do anything, but it will let you do everything better than negative thinking will. Think positive, be positive, and positive things will happen." Tip number 2, take care of yourself. It takes a lot of energy to achieve your goals. Make sure you're getting enough rest at night so you can show up to the office refreshed and ready to perform. Prep your meal Sunday evening for the upcoming week, and follow an exercise routine just as you'd follow your business plan. Tip number 3, avoid negative people at all costs. Negative people will suck the life right out of you. They'll drain your energy and waste your time. Hanging out with them can feel like running a marathon, but without the payoff. Instead, you just feel plain worn out. Tip number 4, seek out like-minded people. Andrew Carnegie, one of the wealthiest businessmen in history, attributed his entire fortune to his mastermind group, which consisted of nearly 50 like-minded individuals. You see, similarly motivated people fuel one another. Positive people who give off positive energy rub off on you, and you can emulate their success strategies. Conversely, you can catch a negative energy just as you can the common cold. Tip number 6, constantly be asking yourself, are my daily activities getting me closer to achieving my goals? Any activity or action that's not moving you closer to accomplishing your goals is wasted effort, and you should immediately make it come to a screeching halt. Tip number 7, take responsibility for your results. If you blame others, credit luck, fate, or divine intervention, you'll always have excuses. And anytime your excuses outweigh your goals, you're in big trouble. Tip number 8, regularly stretch past your limits. John Maxwell describes this as the law of the rubber band. Maxwell states, growth stops when you lose tension between where you are and where you want to go. And he writes in his book, The 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, a rubber band is of no use unless it's stretched. In turn, neither are we as humans. Stretching makes us stronger and allows us to grow. Tip number 9, embrace your failures. Some of the most important lessons life will teach you comes from your failures. Be sure to take time to examine where you slipped, not where you fell. Understand successful people see failure as inevitable. Failure is just a way they learn to grow. It shows what needs to be corrected. They never take failure personally. Instead, successful people see failure as something you do, not something you are. Tip number 10, understand that the perfect time will never come. Something I've learned is the sooner you start, the sooner you can adjust. But no adjustments can be made if you never get started. These days, perfectionists are the ultimate losers in life. Strive for excellence rather than perfection. And always remember, if you don't take action, you fail by default. We all know motivation gets us going, but self-discipline is what keeps us going. So if you want to be successful, if you want your goals to come to pass, you have to maintain your discipline and make certain you don't get lost in what Seth Godin refers to as the dip. Remember, when you made the decision to start, you also made the decision to finish. It wasn't 2 decisions, it was 1. As always, thank you for watching. I hope I was able to add some value. Please remember to tell your friends about thesecrettosuccess.com, because if you want to keep me around for a long time, you can't keep me a secret.